Okay, so error handling, I think, is done really poorly in JavaScript. And I have taken after Rust's array or error handling, and I'll show you what I mean. But for right now, we'll just deal with this, okay? And then I'll build something to show you what I mean, what array error handling should be instead of what it is in JavaScript, okay? So basically, you use this try catch, which is very similar to basically every single language. So we'll show you what it is for convenience. Okay, let's check the work. Okay, great. Declare an asynchronous function. Okay, and there should be a space there. Try catch, try, and you have to have brackets on these. Okay. Specify error. I like to just say E instead of error. Okay, inside try block, try. And now let's do this catch block. Okay. What? Isn't that exactly what I just did? Oh, console.log error. Got it. Okay. Okay. Check work. Let's see if function action node app.js. Great. Is it like a 50% chance? Okay, it is. All right. So what's happening is we're just trying what it is. If there's an error, it's going to catch it. So here is my issue with JavaScript. You have no idea if a function is going to fail. So if it does, you are basically required to put try catch around everything. And that just kind of sucks because now I have to try this and then catch it. And you aren't even forced to put try catch around anything. It's just kind of, you're encouraged to occasionally, right? And I don't like that. I really don't like that. So I'm gonna check work and great, I'm done. So I'm gonna get rid of all of that. So what I have done is I have created a type system that handles errors. Like, you basically, in order to get the value of a function, you have to explicitly handle the potential error. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. So I'm gonna say class okay, and then class class result, and then class okay extends result, and class error extends result. Okay, so you notice how I'm doing some sort of you can kind of see my tree. So I have my result class, and then it's going to be an okay and an error. Okay, so I'm going to run the function, basically constructor. What is it going to be? Okay, so is okay is going to be a function, and it's going to test if return this instance of okay, which is this thing. Okay, and then is error return this instance of error. I'm also going to include an unwrap return, and then if this dot is okay, return. Oh wait, actually no, I can't do that. So now I'm going to constructor, and then I'll have the value. This dot value equals value, and then I'm going to add a I'm going to add a unwrap and return this dot value. Okay, which you don't technically need that unwrap, but actually I'm just going to leave it out. And then constructor error this dot error equals error. Okay, so now inside of here I do I make a function that I called attempt. Const attempt equals, then I have a callback function that I pass into it. Okay, some sort of unstable function that I don't know if it's going to work. Okay, so now I'm going to put this inside of a try catch. Try const data equals await function. Okay, catch error. And I'm gonna make sure. Actually, I'm not gonna deal with async await right now. If that's true, if it works, then I'm gonna just return new okay data. Else, I'm gonna return new error. Okay. So what is really happening in here? If the data is okay, then it's gonna return an okay. If the data is an error, or if this function throws an error, it's gonna return an error. So why is this useful? How is this useful? So say I have const my function equals something, okay, and I'm going to make a number. I'm going to return attempt, and I pass a function into it, and if I have, basically, I want it to throw an error if the number is less than 0, and I want it to return the square root of the number if the number is greater than 0. Or something. I don't know. Yeah, let's do that. So if num is less than 0, throw new error cannot be less than 0. We don't like imaginary numbers. Great. So now return math.square root num. Okay. So let's log what happens in here. Const data equals my function. Let's pass in 5. And let's log it. Console.log data. So if I run node app.js, this is not defined. This dot error. Error. What? This is not defined. Literally inside of a constructor. What are you talking about? Oh, because I didn't do super. That's right. There we go. So notice how it returns an OK. But here's the thing. I can't say data.value. I can't know that that exists. So I have to do if data.is OK, console.log data.value. And then if else, I know it's an error, console.log data.error. Okay, so now I can do this, and now it pulls that thing. So what if it's a -1? Or negative, there we go, -1. Cannot be less than 0. So now you can see it's an error, and we just log that error. But we didn't stop the whole function. So console test. So you can see that it still logs that, meaning it continues on. Whereas if you didn't use some sort of try catch somewhere, then it would just completely stop the whole execution. And this is my problem with JavaScript. I like this a lot because then I have to explicitly state data.is okay and make sure that the value even exists. If I try to use the value outside of here, it's going to be undefined or it's going to exist. You don't know, right? And hopefully you have a good code editor that's going to recognize that data.value may not exist at your point in code, right? If I try to do data.value right now, it's going to say undefined, right? Because value does not exist. But if I do 5, it does exist, right? So that's just an important thing, and I think is incredibly useful because you basically have to explicitly handle the error in order for you to utilize whatever the function returns, okay? This is particularly good. I mean, this is a bad example, or it's not a great example, but it's particularly useful in things like files. Say I'm trying to save a file somewhere, and if I use if it tries to save into a place where it doesn't have permissions, it's going to throw an error. Well, I need to handle that error. Now I have to put that inside of a try catch. Well, if I create a function that wraps around file saving, it'll always return a result, and then I can handle each error as they come up. And I have to explicitly do that. And that's where TypeScript is very useful because data.value will just throw an error in the compiler right now. It'll be like, this doesn't exist right now. It's right now it's a result. What is wrong with you, right? And so you have to say if data.is okay. Now I can say console.log data.value. I know that data.value exists because data.is okay. And the way to do that in TypeScript is this is okay. That's basically how you do it. But this isn't TypeScript. This is obviously JavaScript. So, yeah, this is like, in my opinion, the strongest way to do error handling, and this is called errors as types. You can look it up. Errors as types is by far, like, it's just superior to try catch. It just is, because you have to explicitly handle a potential error if it comes up. And if it comes up, then the value doesn't exist, but you don't know if the result is okay or error before you explicitly handle it, because if data is okay, then you know that it is true. So, yeah, this is basically how Rust works. Technically, it's a little bit different. If it were Rust, then you do if let okay value, and then I'd say like mute value. Then I'd say print line exclamation point value or whatever, right? Like this is Rust, but it's kind of the same concept, right? If it's an okay, then we're gonna do this. So errors as types is just better. And notice how look at this. It can return an okay or an error. Oh, I love this. I love this. Like the type system in here recognizes that it can be an okay or an error. I love it. Just love it. So, yeah. Like the greatest thing. Just the greatest thing. And you can even, and that's where this unwrap thing is useful. So, unwrap, basically the idea of it is if this dot is okay, return this dot value, but that's not even gonna, it's just gonna say, actually I should do that here, unwrap, return this dot value, unwrap, throw this dot error. And the whole point of this is you can, instead of having to do const if is data dot is okay and then handling it, if you're inside of another attempt or a try catch or whatever, if you're in a place where it's safe to throw an error, like inside of an attempt. So I can say attempt const value equals my function 5.unwrap. Okay, and what that's going to do is now this value is going to be a number, or it's going to be the square root of the number, or nothing. The error will be thrown. Okay, so we can see here it does not throw the error. But if I do -5, nothing happens because we're inside of another attempt, which is basically a try-catch block. So errors as types, just so useful. I recommend you implement this in all of your code bases because it is just far superior than try-catch. Because look at that monstrosity versus look at this. I love this. I just love this. And even you can make it so if it's an error, you'll just console.error error. And so it'll always, if there's an error, it'll always log the error to the console. And so you don't have to try catch, or if there's a try catch and then console.log error and then handle the error. You just explicitly have to handle it, and then at runtime you know what the error is every single time. That's a potential thing you could do. Good for development. So anyway, error handling my way versus JavaScript's way. I recommend you use this. And it's not hard to build. It's incredibly easy to build. I mean, I built it in this time, and it works. So, all right, that will be all for error handling.